Okay guys, so we're going to review our cross-side position from this week's lesson. And the focus of this lesson is going to be controlling your partner. It's not as much the attacks and submissions here, but more controlling this position. So the important thing is to know how your opponent is going to start getting out in this position. One of the important things is where I position my body. If I'm too perpendicular to my partner, his inside arm, Joe's right arm right here, is going to be able to create space, and he'll start moving his hips at an angle and getting on his side. This is what I want to prevent, because from here he can start bringing his guard in and creating space with his head. Okay, bring the guard in, create space with your head. Okay, or if he starts getting on his side, bringing his legs in, from here he starts bringing his legs in, and I start trying to move around, it opens up space for him to then come into a single leg. So both of those things I'm trying to prevent. Now keep in mind, these positions are exactly the same with the gi. I'm just using the no gi variation because it's a little easier for you guys to see what I'm doing. What I want to look to do in this eye control, instead of staying up here by his head, especially when his arm's on the inside, is moving myself down by his hips. If you notice how my knee penetrates under his hips, I keep my right arm really tight to his hips, and I try to keep my elbow really tight on his neck. Okay? Now, my left leg can post out and it can drive my weight into my right arm. Because if I sit back, it's still easy for him to create space with his hips. Okay, so I really want to drive weight into this arm, and I kind of tuck it down inside. Now his forearm that'll be across my neck, if I start looking into my partner, you can already hear it in my voice, it's hard for me to breathe because he can push on my windpipe, and he can use that to create space. So instead, I'll turn this muscle in the bone part of my neck, and I'll put my chin right on my own shoulder. From here, I can stay tight to my partner, and this won't bother my neck, his forearm here. Keep my partner in this position here is that I can reach back and I can weave his leg with my arm. Now the strength of this weave is when I straighten my arm and I turn the back of my hand to the floor so I can use my elbow. Okay, this lever. I don't want to keep my arm bent. I want to straighten it and use my hip weight on him. Okay, the goal of this position is to try to beat my partner's right arm, which is inside tight to his body. Now it can still be difficult for me to beat his arm. One thing that will help as well is to go high up on the head, almost like you would in like a tie clinch. Slide up on the head and pull his head into his knee. And now he's really in an uncomfortable position, and I'll turn my body and I'll use my right foot to slide up on my partner's right arm here. Okay. Once I get into this space here, now I can let go and I can lock my traditional side control here, knowing that I can stay very tight to my partner now that I've cleared his inside arm. And this will open up the far arm offense, as well as allow me to start looking to mount my partner from here. Okay, so once I get into the side control, I'm going to look to keep my weight into my right knee, keeping my elbow tight and keeping my elbow deep behind his head. Okay, I can then push and use my hips to start driving my partner over, weave the leg, straighten the arm, and look to pull the top of the head in as I turn my back and drive up into the space. Okay. I then sit and I lock a very tight clamp. It depends on how long your arms are, but if you want to get really tight, do your pinky to thumb grip and just lock onto your forearms here, and then drive your chest weight heavy into your partner here. Okay. Like I said, I can then look to mount my partner. If his arm's tucked in, I'm typically going to use my pressure and start looking to mount. Okay. If the arm comes off, I can then look for my cross arm, forearm attacks here on my training partner's left arm. Okay. Now once we get into this position here, this neutral position, there's a couple things that he may do to make me change my positioning. One thing is if my partner starts stiff arming my hips, okay, and he starts looking to create space. Okay, the moment I feel that, I start turning my hips to the floor. Now if he's pushing with his hand here, it's easy for me to pull the elbow up and then drive myself into the space. Okay, so that would be a way where he actually beats his own arm by actually making kind of a technical mistake and pushing with his hands instead of his forearms. Okay, so if I'm tight in side control and I feel him just pushing on my hips and pushing maybe on my shoulder here, I just drop my hip to the floor. See how I turn my hips? Okay, I then pick his elbow and then drive my hips up, and now he's beating his own arm. Okay. The other thing that you're going to encounter here that a better player will start making space here and then looking to swim an underhook position. Okay, now if I stay here in this position when he has an underhook it's going to be a matter of time, a couple bumps, and my partner will be able to get to their knees. Okay, Joe will start bumping and being able to come up. So if I'm in this side control position, I feel this arm come in, I have to change my position. Now what I want to do is I want to put weight on his arm so that he loses the power to lift me. Okay, so I keep my weight on my armpit, and then I bring my other arm over, and I trap his arm as I switch my hips. Okay, now I'm going to keep a lot of weight here on my left arm, so my right foot is going to push weight into this side. Okay, now it makes a big difference. If I'm not elbow to elbow, if I'm up an inch, okay, this arm will start getting strong, and see my partner will be able to start pushing me back. Okay, and even if he did start pushing me back and moving his hips, right, he starts coming, I'm still in a good position where I could hit from here. If he started coming to his knees, I could hit a wrestler switch and come around from behind him. So it wouldn't be the end of the world, but he would still be escaping side control. So I really want to keep that weight on that arm. Okay, and it's important that I don't sit back. And I definitely don't want this arm to come across my face. Maybe he can roll me back here. So I keep some weight on his arm. Now the more I lean forward, the more it exposes this far arm attack. Okay, where I can start looking to keep my elbow in, right, no thumb on this grip, and start punching that hand down towards my other hand where I can hook it and then lock one hand on the wrist. Okay, keep that wrist bent for the time being, right? I lock over the top with my left hand first, drive my elbow to the floor, and then I roll my right hand over the top. Okay, this is a really important way to get a strong Kimura. And then I turn to the side. Okay, this is very weak. See, this is not a good Kimura. See how my fingertips are on here? It's too easy for your partner to straighten their arm and then put their hand behind your neck and you lose the move. Okay? But initially, to lock my left hand in, I have to bend my wrist a little to get my left hand in first, and then my right hand comes over the top. And I keep my elbows tight, flick my foot over, and I just turn slightly his forearm, okay? Not his whole arm like this, just the forearm. Okay, so I'm in cross-side and my partner bumps and creates a little space to get that underhook. I then turn my hips and I turn my body and I keep weight on his arm. Okay, I can't fall forward because I got base hand here. I just don't want to get taken back, and my right leg is really important to keep that weight in. Now if my partner's hiding this arm, okay, if he's hiding the arm, I'm going to still go under and start weaving the leg here as I did before. And I can still start using my hips to slide back. Okay, and now I have good attacks on the arm that's here. Okay, I just sit back and start looking for that same Kimura position. Okay, or I can square up and start attacking mount position here. Okay, I'm in a good position. Once I beat his arm, I'm in a good position. But this arm becomes a really good target. I just reach back and I hook his wrist, and sometimes you can give your partner a little space and encourage them to come up so I can lock his arm. And then as he starts coming up, I bring the arm over, hit it to the ground, notice the grips are strong, turn my hips, flick my foot over the head, and finish the tight Kimura lock here. Okay, so those are a couple things to deal with the side control position. Really the most important thing is keeping your hip very tight to your partner's hip. Okay, if I start floating out on his elbow, his hips are going to move away. Okay, and once his hips move away, you're going to turn into a scramble. Okay, and a good wrestler will be able to get on your leg. And even though I do have darces and guillotines here, if I allow a good player to move out, it's going to turn into a scramble. And then it's whoever's better at finishing those single leg positions. So really important for me is to not try to come up here too soon, but to stay more on his hips in the beginning, turn my head, control his neck with my left arm, and try to work his hips over with my hips. Okay, look for the weave, bring the head in, turn the hips, and drive up into a dominant position. And from here, it opens up a lot of attacks. Okay, obviously you can see the arms on the inside. It allows me to look to step over for possible triangles. I have arm bars in the far arm. I have my far arm attacks, my mount options, okay, Kimura attacks. So it really opens up all your offense, but it's really important that you control the position first. And next week we'll look at a little bit more offensive positions. All right guys, good luck.